Hello, and welcome to my channel, The Ideas of Words. And today we'll be discussing the autobiography of Malcolm X, which was published in 1965 by Alex Haley and Malcolm X himself. The book is one of the greatest autobiographies ever written, and has been considered required reading in all of non-fiction. As always, before we get into the book, let's discuss who Malcolm X was. Malcolm X, born May 19th, 1925, in Omaha, Nebraska, was a Muslim minister and a human rights activist. His family moved to Lansing, Michigan in 1929, where his father, a minister, was sadly murdered, with most people believing to be a white supremacist group who committed the murder. Malcolm X had a rather difficult childhood. He did well in school, but later dropped out in the 8th grade. In addition, his mother also had a nervous breakdown and had to be admitted to hospital later on, leaving her children, including Malcolm, to be separated in different foster homes. He later moved to New York City and Boston and became involved in crimes such as gambling, drug dealing, robbery, and pimping. Through his indulgence with crime, he was later found with stolen goods by the police in 1946 and was sent to 8 to 10 years in prison. While Malcolm X was in prison, he learned of a religious group called the Nation of Islam, led by Elijah Muhammad. The Nation of Islam believed that Islam was the true religion for black people, and this later on caught Malcolm's attention, and he soon began to adhere to the teachings of Islam in prison. After serving his time in prison, Malcolm changed his last name to X, which means unknown, to distance himself from the names of his family's former slave masters. He eventually joined the Nation of Islam in 1952. Malcolm X was a strong leader and a charismatic speaker, and brought many new members to the Nation of Islam. The group started to grow more and more wherever he went, and he soon became the second most influential member after Elijah Muhammad. Through a dispute with Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X decided to leave the Nation of Islam in 1964, and later on converted to traditional Islam. He went to Mecca to develop his spiritual journey, later on changing his name to El-Hajj Malik el-Shabazz. After returning from Mecca, Malcolm X earned a lot of enemies within the Nation of Islam due to his newfound beliefs and his disagreement with Elijah Muhammad. He was killed in New York City on February the 21st, 1965, while giving a speech. Afterwards, it became known that the crime had been committed by 3 Nation of Islam members. Now we know a brief history of Malcolm X. Let's now move on to the book. The Autobiography of Malcolm X is probably the best book of non-fiction I have ever read. The book taught me a lot of lessons as to how a man can change his life for the better, and why it's important to fight for what you believe in. As the book goes on, Malcolm X tells his insights and thoughts into different parts of his life, and how he was able to overcome certain adversities. A big example of that will be his time in prison, and how he pushed himself into attaining knowledge. He was an avid reader, and during his time, it really helped him change his mindset, with him even saying, "The ability to read awoke inside of me some long dormant craving to be mentally alive." It was books that helped to transform him into the man that he was, as he always knew the value of knowledge. Malcolm X discusses other well-known members in the book, including his interactions with Martin Luther King Jr., Muhammad Ali, and Elijah Muhammad, whom he appeared to really admire. We also get a deeper look into his spiritual growth in the book, which was very interesting, as he details his travels in Mecca and how much it changed him and his worldview. His interactions with people of different races helped him to see Islam as a solution to many racial issues across the world. The Autobiography of Malcolm X is still one of the greatest books I've ever read, and in my opinion, a must-read for anyone interested in Malcolm X, or history in general. His story is really inspiring, as it inspired me to always continue to find ways to improve myself and know that no matter where you are in life, it's never too late to change. Even Malcolm X quoted in his book, saying, "In fact, once he is motivated, no one can change more completely than a man who has been at the bottom." I call myself the best example of that. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.